When did you fall in love with this game?
Well, Charlie, I've got to start at the beginning, I guess, and it's right here, about 200 yards from where we're sitting. And my father started on this golf course at Latrobe when he was 16 years old, and he was digging ditch, and they were building the golf course, and so I was raised right here.
You were raised with golf.
That's right. I was raised with him. I played cowboys and Indians in the trees, and then I started hitting the golf ball with some clubs that he sawed off, and I was raised with him, really, with my father.
Did he once tell you, hit it as hard as you can, and you can work on accuracy later?
He did. He said, hit it hard, boy, and go find it and hit it again.
Served you well, didn't it?
Well, it did, yes. Yeah. He was a very tough guy, Charlie. He was, I was the first son and first child, and when my sister came along, well, she was 2 years younger, and I had to go to the golf course because my mother couldn't handle all the action that was going on, so I came from about the time I was a year and a half old with him to the golf course, and I spent the day with him here, and it just worked in naturally, and it was fun for me, being with my father and doing the things that were, for a kid to do, were just great.
And what part of your game today do you look back and say, that was because of Deke?
Every part.
Really?
The whole part. Everything. My manners, my being was him. I wanted to emulate him. I wanted to be as tough as he was. I wanted to do the things that he did. I watched him, and we had some guys that worked on the golf course in those days. This was when I was born in '29, as you know. That was Depression.
Yeah.
So the golf course was manned by my father and two guys. They worked with my dad, and they took me with them everywhere they went, and it was fun. And of course, Pap was a guy that he had infantile paralysis when he was born, a year after he was born, and so his upper body was very strong. He chinned himself and with a straight bar, and he could do either arm 10 to 15 times, and he did it every day. He just threw here, and his upper body was very, very strong, and I did that too.
Many people who have gone on to find the kind of fame and fortune you do don't come back to their hometown, but you did, and you do, and you will till the day you die.
You're right, and I will. I love it.
I think you said something like this: your hometown is not where you're from, it is who you are. So you think of your father's here, golf was here, the things that molded you. When did you know that you could play this game well?
Well, of course, that was another thing about my father, that he never let me feel like I knew everything or anything. He rode hard, and he made me feel very conscious of the fact that I wasn't very good, and that I had to prove to him that I was good, and that hung with me. I've always wanted to play golf with him and show him, and he said, just don't ever, and he looked at me just like I'm looking at you, don't ever tell people how good you are. Show them.
Do you remember the great shots and the great tournaments, or do you remember the almost, where you had it and you bogeyed the final hole?
Well, I remember the ones I lost, yes. I remember some that I won, but more importantly, I remembered some ones I lost, probably as much as anything. That's something that I will never forget. And did it ruin me or did it hurt my career? I can't say that it did. It taught me something. It taught me about life a little bit, how to act and how to take the bad with the good. And I've had a couple of those, as you can well remember. And did they? Yes, they hurt. They really hurt. But when I reflect on it now and I look back and say, taught me something, taught me how to live and how to be a better guy and not let a defeat be the end of my life. And I'm thankful for that. I would never felt good if I hadn't experienced losing, because losing is part of your life, and it's something that if I could teach people to understand that and get to them with that, I think I would help them a lot.
When you think about the Army that followed you, did it make a difference for you? Did it give you something that no one else had on the course?
No question. It did. I was, the fans, I loved them. And you know, my mother would be in my gallery, just to give you an example, and everybody was calling it Arnie's Army. I'd look right at my mother and not remember.
When did you first see and play with Jack Nicklaus?
Well, I'm considerably older than Jack.
Right. Not considerably, 10 years maybe?
Well, almost 11.
Okay.
And first time I met Jack, I had heard about his golf and his prowess, and I admired what he was doing. And I was playing in the Ohio Amateur, I think, and then this was before I even turned pro. And then Dow Finsterwald had an exhibition out in Ohio, and he asked me to come and play with Jack and he and Howard Saunders, and I went and I met Jack for the first time, and we hit it off immediately. We became
liked each other.
Yeah,
admired
we became friends.
Yeah.
We were friends, but we competed. And Charlie,
yes,
that was about so many years ago. I don't even remember now, but we have played against each other. We're still friends, and he's one of the best friends that I have. He's a guy, we don't spend a lot of time together, but if I felt like I needed something, that he was the guy I needed to talk to, I'd go see him.
You agree that the rivalry that took place is part of the magic that everybody says made modern golf? You, television, Jack Nicklaus.
Well, I don't know. I hope so. I hope that it helped. I think about television. I think about Ike. I think about Jack. I think about Hogan, and how that influenced me a little bit, and the people that had an effect on my life, and certainly the relationship with Jack was a good one, but it was competitive, and it still is today.
Now, how is it competitive today?
We do business.
Oh, yeah. He builds courses, you build courses.
We build golf courses, and we don't agree on it. Not a great deal.
Yeah.
But when it comes to something that's good, we agree. If we have something that we need to do as a team, we do it.
The competition, did it make you both better, you and Jack?
Oh, I think so. I know it helped me to have Jack playing the way he did, and
because you're such a competitor, therefore having somebody who's going to challenge you made you better.
Exactly. And of course the fact that he was so determined, and he had a personality that was very good for what he was doing, and he could
what was that personality?
He shut everything off.
Yeah.
And played golf, and he was very good at that. He could concentrate on what he was doing. I've never seen him, maybe in the times that I've known him, all our lives for the best part, I've never seen him waver on the golf course in competition. The only time that ever happened that I can recall was when we would be playing in a tournament and we'd be playing together, and we'd start trying to beat each other. And that sometimes it happened this way. There were occasions when we got to playing each other so much, someone else came along and beat both of us. And that's happened.
18 majors makes him the greatest golfer of all time.
Well, until somebody shows me a better game, it makes him the best.
You get credit for changing golf, the magnetism you brought there. And people say that that is much more important than the number of tournaments you won or when you won them. That because of you and because of the style and because of the drama you brought to the game, that you made it so exciting, and you also brought new fans to the game. And that is a legacy that matches whatever tournaments you won. Does it match it for you?
Well, I hope that I've done a little bit of what you were saying I've done. The game is so fantastic, you know, and people who get into it love it so much. And the fact that if I've had a little bit to do with some of the enjoyment that I see today, I'm pleased with that. There's no game like it. You know, you go out there and you tee it up on the first tee, Charlie.
Yes.
It's you.
Yeah.
A golf ball in the golf course. And there you go. And if you can handle it, go at it. Do it, and do it good. But what other game? There's always someone else in the other game.
Yeah.
It's the guy hitting the ball to you, or you throwing the ball somewhere, or something else that there are other people involved in golf. You are the person that's doing it.
You're doing two things. You're playing yourself and you're playing the course.
That's it. And you can't change it. That's the way it is.
Gary Player and others have said all of us should give 20% of our earnings to Arnie. Because without him, there wouldn't have been the endorsements, there wouldn't have been the attention, there wouldn't have been the television contracts, and it would not have been nearly as good for us as it has been.
Well, I thank you or Gary or anybody that says that, but the truth is that it's such a great game, and it's been so much fun for me to be a part of it. I think about what influenced me and what made me do some of the things that you're talking about, like the golf associations from when I started right here in the Western Pennsylvania area and played in the West Penn Golf Association tournaments, and then the USGA, the States Golf Association. What those people, whether you like them or dislike them, what they've done to make the game so great is part of what made me do what I wanted to do and have the opportunity to do what I wanted to do, to play the game, the history of the game. And, you know, those things are so important to me that people, they talk about the galleries, people that have inspired me to do what I did and to win and to have the pleasures that I have had in my life. My wife, Winnie, Kit, my wife now, what they've done, how they've helped me do what I've wanted to do is so important, and I'm most grateful for that. And I could spend the rest of my life just thanking people for the contributions that they've made and the fact that I've had a big success. This is, Charlie, this is my presidential corner. This is the things that happened with my various presidents that I was associated with and spent some time with.
Let's just talk about them.
Okay.
First, over there's Richard Nixon. Did he play golf?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Gerald Ford here. Good athlete.
Yeah, well,
played football.
And he was a great guy.
Loved golf.
You can tell by the laugh. Yeah. This is a conference that Nixon called all of his friends to talk about how to negotiate the war.
And you were considered among a friend to help him?
Kissing her,
Right.
the whole ground.
How to negotiate the end of the Vietnam War?
Yeah.
Wow. This is George Bush 41,
Yeah.
and you?
He's a great guy.
But he plays
Good buddy.
fast golf.
Very. Yeah.
Here is Ronald Reagan.
These are like White House dinners.
Here again with the Bushes. Here again with, who's the lady in white?
Oh, she happens to be the queen.
And here we go with some trophies.
Various Ryder Cup,
Ryder Cup here.
Open
Tell me
Championship.
the importance of the Ryder Cup.
Well, it's a great international competition.
There's more enthusiasm for it than.
Well, we hope so. I've always been a big thinker that the more international competition we can create through sports, the better relationships we'll have with countries.
The more common ground we can find.
Exactly.
The more common ground, the better off we're going to be when push comes to shove.
That's right. That's the name of the game.
So here you are with Bill Clinton. Clinton here, Clinton here. Now, he loves golf.
He's a great guy, whatever your politics are.
What's his golf?
Well, the ball just didn't have a zip code on it.
Wherever he was driving the ball, it wasn't necessarily the same zip code.
That's right. This is a letter. He and I were playing golf one day, and well, you can see the date. It's 65.
This is, may I read it?
Sure.
It's DDE, which is Dwight David Eisenhower, Gettysburg, where he retired to, August 14th, 1965. Dear Arnie, enclosed is payment for my bet, and never was there one more reluctantly paid. Also attached is a picture cut from the Philadelphia Inquirer. It indicates dejection. Please remember that a couple of accidents will not be important a year from now. You'll win a lot more tournaments and forget all the woe caused by bridges, rocks, and complaints about a tree. Love to win and keep hitting them. All the best, as ever, DDE. Pretty nice. And there's $10. Now, the bet was what?
And the bet was, he bet me I'd win the PGA championship this year.
And so he's, exactly.
And I didn't.
It's a hell of a life.
A lot in it. It was full.